All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Difference, a podcast highlighting leaders making the difference in their teams, their stores, and their communities. I'm your host, Drew Holler.
Hey, everyone, and I'm Alexis Whaley.
All right, Alexis, who's on the podcast today?
Yeah, so for today, we have Quiana Rowe. She is from Store 911, and her story is pretty great. It's really related to teaming and leading as well. She's got a lot of great stuff about how she has connected with her team and how she's kind of built them up into this powerhouse. So can't wait to get started. Really excited.
I was actually in her store a few months ago and got to meet with her. So this is going to be great to get caught up. So let's get her on.
Fantastic. Can't wait.
So it is, you're what, 2 weeks away from Mardi Gras?
Yeah, that we don't get to have. It's sad.
What is Mardi Gras going to be like in a COVID world? Not necessarily just for your store, but like in the community. How are they thinking about that?
I think that a lot of people are going to decorate their houses this year.
Yeah.
And they're going to do a lot of kind of drive-by parades, right? Where you can drive by and kind of look at the decorations and look at the houses. It's definitely going to be a completely different feel.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure there's the Macy's Day Parade felt differently. It was still kind of a parade, but there was nobody there.
Yeah.
So I've been wondering about Mardi Gras and how when I was down there in stores, we were talking to store managers that were talking about still felt like the decorations was going to do really well this year, but maybe not some of the parade type chairs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Beads kind of they're at a standstill this year. And those are like just some of the things that blow out. Like if you've ever been to New Orleans and been able to experience Mardi Gras, the beads are just, they're everywhere. And I think that for me, coming here from Kansas, I visited New Orleans. And I visited New Orleans a lot during Essence Fest. That's kind of my thing, right?
Got it. Yep.
Didn't really come out here for Mardi Gras a lot just because I knew it would be hectic. But when I moved out here, my family wanted to come to Mardi Gras. So they all flew in from Kansas last year. And I'm going to tell you, those beads hurt. Like, you don't think about those beads, but when people are throwing them things down from balconies, you're
dodging them.
They hurt.
Generating some velocity, that's for sure.
Yeah, but being able to watch just how the parades come together. And, when you're at Walmart, I was able to meet just a ton of people that are in the parades for Mardi Gras. And you don't think about what it takes to get those floats onto those streets. And it's a ton of work. And I'm going to tell you, you find a newfound respect for how New Orleans is, like the culture. It's phenomenal. And it's disappointing, like that we don't get to do that this year out here. But I will say something about these people. They are the most tenacious people you're ever going to meet. They are. So Mardi Gras may not be the same, and there may not be hundreds and thousands of people out here from around the world, but they're going to figure out a way to make it spectacular for themselves anyways. That's just what we do out here.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And are you a Chiefs fan? Being from Kansas?
Oh, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
It's going to go for other people to hear outside of Walmart.
If you don't say you're a Chiefs fan, we won't broadcast this part.
No. So technically, I am a Chiefs fan because I was born and raised in Kansas, and my dad passed, and my dad passed the year of the Super Bowl. He was not able to watch them win.
So last year? So a little over a year ago?
Diehard Chiefs fan. But I'm also a Saints fan. So I kind of tell my family, as long as the Chiefs aren't playing the Saints, I'm like Mahomes all day. So like this Super Bowl, Brady sat down. Let's let Mahomes go for it again. But I would have much rather seen the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they had a tough year, didn't they? Oof.
They did.
They had a chance. They had a chance. Good deal. Is basketball season over for your boys yet?
No. Oh, my goodness. I was telling Alexis about this.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a sports agent. Like, call me little Jerry Maguire. This has been.
How old is your oldest?
So my son, my basketball player, is a senior this year.
Okay. So you probably are. Yeah, for sure.
This is a very hard year for him. College has an extra year of eligibility. So that means most schools that would have been recruiting him, now the scholarships aren't there, right? And they're going to keep their seniors. So we've gotten a few JUCO looks, but I think we're going to go prep school. But just every week it's something different, right? Like, so we can have this many people in the stands, and then it's only this many people. And were we able to put together a senior night? And we were able to do it, but the feel and the vibe is just different. So I've just kind of told them, these are what make this situation is going to make you stronger. It's not the most fun situation, right? It's your senior year. You're having to battle. God forbid you're in a class and you sit by somebody and they're within 6 feet of you, you got to get quarantined. So he's been quarantined twice, but this last quarantine cost him to miss 6 conference games.
Oh, wow.
6 games worth of film that we need. But I'm going to tell you, I think my associates know more about my son and his sports in this store. Because they'll be like, how many points did he drop?
I'm super invested.
Yeah. What was last night's game like? Or like yesterday we played in Ponchatoula. It was like 5:30. And they're like, yo, what time does the game start? Why haven't you left yet? I was like, I'm leaving right now.
I love it. It like brings a whole new meaning to Walmart family.
It does.
My son, his last game was last night. He's 14, so he's a freshman.
So they let them finish off their season?
Well, they finished their season, but they didn't have like a post tournament. They didn't have state tournaments. So they had their last game, and they only let 30 people into the game. So my wife went. I didn't get to go, but
wow.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year.
Yeah, they cut our freshmen and JV didn't get to finish their season. They
cut it off.
And just went straight with varsity.
Got it.
It's been difficult for them.
All right, so. On that note, so if you think about you're a single mom, 5 kids, you've had a phenomenal career at Walmart. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, how would you define life balance? Not necessarily how you achieve it, because we all achieve it in different ways. I also think we all define it in different ways. So I just think for you, as mom with 5 kids, single mom, running a big store, how would you define, like, what's the definition of success for life balance for you?
Sacrificial. Success does not come without sacrifice. It's something that I live by. And I think that as a single mom and as a store manager, I am it, right? Like for my kids. So there is no fallback plan. There is no fallback parent. It's me. There's only one store manager in my store also, right? And they expect a lot. So I think it's sacrificial. And I think that sometimes we speak about success, right? And we tell these great stories and people are like expired. And then they're like, oh, this is hard. Like, this is not as easy as I thought it would be. And I think you as an individual have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice, right? Like, what's a hard no? And what's an okay? Like, I'm willing to sacrifice my sleep. I'm willing to sacrifice my time. And I think that life balance it comes with those sacrificial moments, right? There may be some things that I have to miss, and there may be some things that I'm just not willing to miss, just depending on where I'm at. But I think that sometimes as adults and as single moms, especially in any career, not just retail, but any career that you have that's demanding, I think as a female, we can sometimes feel guilty, right? Like I wasn't able to give enough of myself here or enough of myself there. But I don't think we give our children enough credit for being resilient. I think children are just the most adaptive humans on the face of the earth. I think that they adapt very well. I think it's us that we have a hard time adapting at times and a hard time forgiving ourselves for moments that we've missed. But I also feel like there's great rewards. I was telling Alexis when my son walked on senior night and they were reading, the questions they asked him. One of the questions was, who's the most influential person in your life? Who do you look up to? And, a lot of the kids were like these other basketball players or celebrities. And my son said, my mom. It was like, that's who I look up to. And then he said, I just thank you for believing in me. And
that had to be rewarding and gratifying for you.
It let me know that he gets it. Like everything I do for you. And it's kind of like the family within my store too, right? When we're here and we talk about those things, and when we're going through the team leads, right? And you're getting the team leads involved in, and everybody's just kind of discussing like trial and error, because that's kind of where we are right now. Hey, this is working great. Oh, we tried this, it didn't work so great, right? We have like a sense of family. And so one of the things that we've always talked about, we have a quote board, and one of the things I wrote on there yesterday was, let's get ourselves to the point of success, right? But then let's put ourselves in a position to win. So like you gotta go through the trials and the errors to obtain that success. And then you gotta put yourself and your team in a position to win, which is a position to get the results that everybody's looking for. But as far as work-life balance and success, to me, it's all the same cluster, and it's all just sacrificial. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you
I think that's a great way to look at it.
Absolutely.
You know, I was reading a study a few weeks ago specifically about moms, and there is that thought process out there that you feel guilty for spending too much time
absolutely
at work, right? And what the study showed is that if somebody's in a job that they enjoy and that it's a good experience for them, no matter how many hours they spend doing it, when they're at home, their home life is actually enhanced as well.
Absolutely.
It's whenever you're in a job that is you don't feel like you're not making a difference. It's not in your creative wheelhouse. It doesn't feel like you're part of a team, all those kind of things. When you feel that as an individual, you take that home too. It's called spillover.
Absolutely.
It spills over to home, and it actually decreases your home life, even if you work less hours. So a lot of it is when we talk about, especially you as a leader, like you have, how many people are in your store?
459.
Yeah. So 459 people, that's 459 lives, it's 459 families. And when we create great experiences for those as leaders, not only are you enhancing their life at work, you have to know that it spills over and it enhances their life at home.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So is your oldest a senior or
No,
that's the one that plays basketball?
Yeah, that's the one that plays basketball. My oldest is actually an adult, and she will be moving to Korea with her husband and my grandchildren in 6 days.
Where are they going there for?
Her husband is military. So, and that's another thing. Like, there's always a million things going on, right? I feel like a juggler. Like, I got my store and I have my associates and we're winning, and I have my son and I have a senior year. Then I have my daughter. So Thursday, I ended up driving to Vicksburg, Mississippi to go meet with another store manager and kind of help her out for the day on a Friday. I had every intention of driving back home on Friday, taking a nap, getting back on the highway again, and going to Leesville to spend this last weekend with my daughter. And I ended up running a fever on Friday, and I was like, crud.
Oh, no.
So I got up Saturday morning, and I went to the urgent care, and I have strep. 48 hours, you got to take medication or you're contagious. So I'm not going to be able to see them before they leave.
You feeling okay now?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a lot of FaceTime, right? Like, and that think that even with my daughter, we've moved 7 times. So, I mean, she's an adult now and she's married to somebody in the military, but because we have moved so much for my career, we always just figure out a way to make it work. So, I mean, I cried, not going to, like, she has my granddaughters. I cried. I wanted to be there, but she was like, hey, Zoom.
Is it a two-year deployment or?
Yeah, it's a 2-year deployment for him. And then I think after that, they're slated to go to Germany.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot, but I like to travel. So, I mean, that's just how we look at things. And you relate sports, your home life, all of that relates back to the store, right?
Yep, sure.
I could look at it grimly and I could be in tears and I could be like upset with the world, or I could look at it like, hey, this is a better opportunity to go travel. I've never been to Korea. And it's kind of like that in the stores. You know, our attitude is going to determine 99% of our success.
That's right.
Even when things aren't easy.
Absolutely.
So it's all in how we kind of handle it.
I feel like we're going back to the resilience aspect of that too.
Yeah.
Man.
I agree. I think that COVID it's been hard, and there's a lot of negative things about COVID that affect all of us. But within COVID, it has brought out leadership capabilities, and I can only speak for myself and my store because this is where I am. It has brought out more leadership capabilities than I even think we knew we had.
What are some of those things that you've kind of identified as some of those things that you didn't previously realize?
I think that we came in here a year and a half ago. The back room was full. We became a family, right? And we were able to make these changes, and you had all these department managers and you were having these huge store meetings. I mean, we had a second line band in our store on Black Friday. Never experienced it in my life. Like, we cut up. And I was like, yes. I mean, and we were you're winning. And man, when you're winning, things are great. Like when you're winning, everybody is extremely happy. Like, yo, our back rooms are clear. We were coming for people on bid accuracy. I mean, we were like pulling up people in the company that were nowhere near us. And they didn't even know it. But I'm just going to tell y'all right now, if you hear this and you were doing great, we were challenging you. You didn't know, but we were in competition with you. And then COVID hit. And then people started going out. Then the holidays hit and teaming hit and freight hit all at once. And it was like a snowball effect. We could have easily folded. And what I learned in that moment was that you spend time with your team, right? But I learned in that moment that my team actually believes in the vision. They believe. And they fought. And we had meetings, and they fought, and we had meetings. And then Drew, you and your team came, and we had like really just kind of started dabbling in teaming, right?
Yep.
We're not all the way there. And I am one of those store managers. I go home and process things. So if we did something great that day, great. I give great shout outs. But if we did something and we're kind of missing the mark, as a leader, I go home and think about it. And I'm invested in my people. It's just kind of what I am. I'm not anybody without them. So during the holidays, we were getting hit with all this freight. The morale was going down. And I was like, okay, I'm losing them. How do I get it back? Like, how do I get them back to where I need them to be? And I have never in my whole entire career gave myself this answer. Back off. Trust them.
Wow.
We have installed and we have had many meetings with them, and they are strong and they know what to do. Leave them alone. Back away from these team leads and let them lead. Are they going to have some hiccups? Of course. I still have hiccups. It comes with the territory.
So on that note, that's a great point, Q. And if you, us as leaders, especially at Walmart, it's really hard to come to that conclusion.
Absolutely.
Back off, and then to actually do it. Like some people say, "Hey, I got to back off," and then the first sign of trouble, and we're right back in, right, including
absolutely.
Me. So, walk me through that, like internal, like in your mind, like how did you come to the conclusion that they've got it, I got to trust them, and then how did you make sure you measured some practical examples of how that manifested?
So the first thing I did was I had to tell myself to back off, because everything starts with the store manager, right? You're the leader. So if you're going to do something, then I met with the salary management team. And I said, okay, so let's just kind of talk through what we do in a day, right? And we talked through it, but people kind of don't get things. I'm like a big reenacting person. So I was like, okay, this conversation's going nowhere.
This is great.
So the next day they came to work, me and my team, and I got on the walkie, and I wouldn't talk to the team leads. It was just, I was talking to the coaches and the store leads. So like we walked, we toured, we gave notes. And then like throughout the day, I'd be like, oh, hey, do this. And by the way, can you flip this? Hey, I need this done in this amount of time. Hey, where are you at right now? But can you please come and do this? And they're like, what is wrong with you? Like, you literally didn't give me 5 minutes to do what you just asked me to do. You asked me something else. And I did it all day till like 1 o'clock. It was kind of fun, actually. And then at 1, I called them all back to the office, like, hey, how's the day going? They're like, you serious right now? I was like, so how did that make you guys feel? They're like, yo, like, you can't work like that. I said, okay, I want y'all to think about something. When we are putting notes in the system and we're trying to run the show and we're running up on a lot of things and we're not giving anybody else an opportunity to see things, this is what they hear. That's how it feels to them. Like they just started me on something. I'm just shifting somebody over here. Now they're back on the walkie. And they're asking me to do this, and I'm going to try to do it all because I'm a team player, right? Because Q has built this family atmosphere, and Q says that we're going to win as a family, so I'm going to give it all I have. But at the end of the day, I'm only going to get 50% of what she asked me done, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to be frustrated because all I've heard is walkie chatter all day. Can you, will you, we need this at this, but it was a lot. So that was the first thing I did. And then we
very clever.
A week where all we did was a morning tour. And we did not tour anything else throughout the day. The team leads toured throughout the day. The team leads were able to notice things throughout the day. But what we realized is at those 1:30 meetings, the notes were done. And so that was week 1. Week 2, I said, okay, why are the team leads not in our meetings? Why are they not going over the notes with us in the execution, right? Because essentially they're the ones that are doing it.
That's right.
So then we started bringing them in. So yesterday, and it sounds minute, like this really does sound minute. We were going over notes. And I was like, whose note is this? Because I know I didn't give it. I didn't think one of my store leads or my coaches gave it. And I was like, who gave this note? I was like, this is a good note. And it had like a great time limit. And my hardware team lead, my GM team lead, she said, I gave it. I was like, She said, it's done too. I just went and walked it off before I came to the meeting. But it's those types of things that you're looking for. So, and I do this thing, it's called a touch base meeting with them. So we started it last week and we're going to do it every 30 days where all the team leads just get together and we go over what's working. And one of the things that they said is we are able to be leaders and the show is running. And for overnights, they were able to kind of step into that role quicker because they spend a lot of time alone with the 3 team leads, and they are a powerhouse overnight. Like it didn't matter if a coach is there, if a coach isn't there, we're getting the same results.
That's great.
Because they're people brought in. But on the day shift, when you have all these members of management, there can be a lot of commotion. And I'm going to tell you.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, we don't need them. Like we don't need them because we're rarely on them anymore.
Yep.
But it works for them. It does. It works for them. And they're able to take a leadership role. And we have less associates coming to us because they're going to the team lead because that's who gave them the direction.
That's right. But
great. It was the hardest thing as a leader I've ever had to do.
Yeah, it's hard to behaviors in general. A lot of this is behavior based, and think about a behavior in your life or routine that you do. If it's kind of like brush your teeth with your left hand. You've heard that, right? If it feels weird, behavior is the hardest thing to change. Like you can change job titles, you can change reporting structures. It's the behaviors that take the time.
It is. It was hard, but it was worth it. The results, phenomenal.
That's awesome. So we'll flip gears just a little bit. One of the things that we're passionate about, all leaders are passionate about, I'm sure you are too, is this idea of inclusive leadership. And so when you look across your team leads or just across your team in general, how do you promote, and I noticed this when I was in the store, how do you promote a sense of inclusion where people feel like they're a part? Is my first question. I got a follow-up one too, but how do you promote the sense of inclusion in your store?
Meetings. People do not give enough credit to meetings. Do you meet with your team and then do you give them the opportunity to be heard? So one of the things when I first take over a store, I hold these meetings, right? I go overnight, you meet your crew, but I take off this part that says store manager. I don't want it there because what I need you to understand is the store manager doesn't make me better than you, right? In all honesty, I'm probably the most insignificant person in the store because I can't get anything done unless I get it done through you all. Mm-hmm. So I think just kind of holding those meetings and creating one vision. So it's not the GM side against the food side or the food side against overnights. I think you have to be able to merge in why it is we do what we do. Why is 5-star important to more than just the front end? How does that correlate to people? Well, then you can speak about their my share, right? Then you can start talking about things like, hey, we don't point our customers places. We had a 92 CFF, 5-star wasn't here when I first got here. CFF was a 92 when I first got here, it was red. And I just started reading some of the comments, right? And a lot of them were the same, like I was pointed here or I had to stand in line here. And so I just told them one day, I was like, we're gonna act like this is Disney World. Like if you've ever been to Disney World, they work in the heat, in the rain, they are in costumes, and you will spend $7 on a bottle of Dasani water and not think twice because you're happy. Like you're $7 for this $1 bottle of Dasani because you're excited. And I'm like, we're in a controlled environment. When it's hot, the air is on. When it's cold, the heat comes on. What is stopping us from making people feel like they're in Disney World in our store? They should feel like that. And as we started to watch the CFF come up, it started correlating to their my share. And they started seeing results. So when I got here, I think they said their my share had been like $25. And I remember their first one was like, I want to say $230. And they were like super excited. Like, oh my goodness, it's $230. Like, okay, we could do better than that. And I'm going to tell you, they came up with a $1,500 my share, not this last quarter, but the quarter before. And people cried. They just were excited, not even so much about the money. The fact that they were able to get $1,000 my share, like it was like, wow, we did it. And it wasn't wow, Q did it or wow, I did it. It was wow, we did it. And I think when you talk about inclusion, do you talk about I, or do you talk about we? Do we talk about team, or do we talk about me? And I think when you really talk about inclusive behavior, it has to be a we, and it has to be a team. But I think more importantly than any of that, people have to be heard. They have to feel comfortable enough to be able to voice their opinions. And that is just one thing that I stand on. I had an associate give me some great feedback yesterday in a huddle in produce, not the team lead, the hourly associate.
That's awesome.
We were trying to come up with a plan. She said, you're doing it wrong. The wet wall doesn't need to be where it needs to be. It is the dry goods. The shelf caps aren't right. All right, then we start there. She works there. That's what she does.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think just letting your store have a voice and letting your associates know that your voice counts. And it doesn't matter if you're maintenance. It doesn't matter if you're Drew Holler. Everybody has a voice. And I think being able to hear that, I think that it truly does something here. If you were to talk to these associates at 9/11, they're going to tell you that they're family.
Wow.
Like that is what we are. We're family here.
So what do you do for some of the associates where it's harder for them to get that voice? How do you really try to include everybody when it might be difficult for them to kind of branch out and step into that space?
So, with the huddles, it made it a little easier because you have smaller groups, right? And so you were able to really just kind of call on people. So it was kind of like yesterday in the produce back room, right? When we were meeting with the fresh team, I could look at April and tell she wanted to say something because she was kind of like, you could see people kind of nod their head and they're agreeing with you. They're kind of like, yeah, that's not going to work. I said, hey, what do you got to say? She's like, huh? I was like, what do you got to say? She's like, I don't got nothing to say. No, you got something to say. What is it? I was like, I really want to hear you. And she's like, why do you want to hear me? Because this is what you do. Like day in and day out, you live this. So if something's not working, I want to know why you think it's not working. I think that we have to honestly sometimes reach out for people and bring them in when you notice things. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to kind of get diverted, right? And kind of overlook our hourly associates and go straight to the salary management associates, right? Like, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z, and you need to get a plan. Okay. That's great. And then what happens when they go on vacation or they're out or they didn't share the plan? Exactly. The plan's not working. So we took all this time. We came up with a great plan, but nobody knows about it. Nobody had anything to contribute because had we have ran with my plan, we would have been on a wet wall that didn't need our focus. But instead, we're on the dry goods. And I'm going to tell you, she was absolutely right. The shelf caps over there were absolutely overstated. And I told her today, I was like, best idea ever. Like,
whenever you give our associates a voice and tools to do their job, it's amazing what they can do, right?
It is.
It's amazing. Hey, so Q, you're a passionate leader,
I am.
right? You're a passionate person. It shines through an interview like this or when somebody walks your store. What's that motivation for you? What drives that passion inside of you?
I don't forget where I came from. I was telling Alexis, I'm in a good place now, right? But I was blessed when I was coming up to work with good managers and good people. And I told her financially, it was not easy being a single mom, being an assistant. There's no child support. It's just my income. And I remember one time I was an assistant. I was making $38,500. I had a van that we called the Smurf. And that van was probably a death trap because half the doors wouldn't open from the inside and some would open. It was horrible, but it had AC and I totaled it. And I didn't have enough to afford a car outright. And so I went and I got a car note. And it wasn't even a lot, but it was hard. That was an extra $300 that I usually use towards food. And I remember I went and I applied for food stamps. And I will never forget it. When the lady called me, she said, I made $225 too much to receive food stamps. And then she told me, but if you quit your job You can get food stamps. We can get you put on a housing list. And you would probably have an easier time. I said, so you don't want me to, you would rather me not work? I was like, I can't do that. And so there were a lot of chicken nights. We had chicken a lot. And I remember McDonald's would be a treat, like once a month. So not a fancy restaurant, but McDonald's. It was just, that's what I could afford. And I had a lot of people that kind of stood by me. I remember one year I had a store manager. He came to my house on Christmas Eve. It was like 9:00 at night. And I had got off at 6 that day. And I remember my kid said, somebody's in the driveway. I'm like, what? And it was him and his wife. And they brought wrapped gifts into my home for my kids that I did not ask for. And I remember he told me, he said, one day you are going to be able to do this for somebody else. And you might not see it right now, but one day you're going to be able to do this. And I think that when you have had to take the steps to get to where you are now, it makes you humble. And I think it makes it easier for me to relate to people. And I think that on a daily basis, my mind is always going to, what can I do to help you? If you want to promote, how do I help get you there? Because there were people in my life that did that. And I was telling Alexis, I had an associate, he rides a bike to work. And you know, to some people, that might not be a big deal.
I love this story.
Huge. He rides a bike to work. Have you ever been in New Orleans in the South in the summertime? It is hot. It rains. He rides his bike and he is literally here every day on time. He came to me one day and it was right around Christmas time. He didn't ask me for anything. His name is Mr. Tim. Well, his name's Timothy, but we call him Mr. Tim. He said, Miss Q. I said, yes, Mr. Tim. He said, when you get a chance, can you see if somebody can run like the tape? Somebody stole my bike. Like they cut his little bike lock off and they took his bicycle. I said, I'll see what I can do. So I went to my people lead and we were talking. I was like, hey, let's go to Garden Center, see if we got some bikes that we can build, because we hadn't been getting a lot of adult bikes in. Walked back there, we had like a pallet of bikes. I was like, call him out here. I said, Mr. Tim, can you get this bike built for me really quick? It's for a customer. I was like, you know, we messed something up and they need this bike. He was like, yes, ma'am, I got to get it built. I was like, roll it up to the service desk when you're done with it. He's like, okay. So they called me to the service desk. They're like, hey, you just dropped the bike off. And mind you, the overnight team lead stayed at work because she wanted to see this.
Oh, man.
She was like, I'm not going nowhere until I'm able to see this. Like, I'm staying. And so we walked to the service desk. We paid for the bike. And I called him back up there. I said, Mr. Tim, you built this bike? Yes. This bike right here? Miss Q, you told me to build that bike. That's the bike you told me to build. I said, I did? Yes. I said, can an adult ride this bike? Well, I mean, they need to lift the seat up. But yeah, but Miss Q, that's what you told me to build. You said, and I mean, and I'm trying to look serious and not like start laughing. And I'm looking at the team lead. She turns around. My people partner turns around because everybody knows like this bike is for him, right? You didn't really build it for a customer. Right. And he's like really trying to explain to me like, lady, you asked for this bike. I built you this bike and I bought it up here for you. And I said, would you ride this bike? He's like, well, yeah, it's a bike, of course. I was like, okay, well, that's good because this bike is for you. And he gave me a hug and he cried, and it took everything in me not to cry with him.
Sure.
But he doesn't get it, right? He doesn't know my story. He doesn't know that in my head, I'm like, yes, I was able to pay something forward. And the way he felt, I've been able to feel that before. So I know that type of gratitude when somebody does something for you and you didn't even ask, and it helps you in a way that somebody can't imagine. You're talking about a bicycle. A lot of people wouldn't think anything about that, but when that is your transportation, that is his car. That's how he gets to work. Moments like that mean a lot. And then, you know, it does something to the morale of the store too. Because when he goes around and says, I got a bike, like people are coming to me, they're like, Q, for real? I'm like, what? You got Mr. Tim's bike? I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, because you don't really think about it, but the things that you do really have an impact on people, and not just that person, right? It has an impact on people inside the store. So I think that sometimes as leaders, you got to give back, and then you got to talk about your story. I tell my story all the time to people. I tell them about coming through the ranks, and I tell them about where I am now. I told Alexis when I was coming through the ranks, store managers really never talked about their pay, right?
Yeah.
They didn't really talk about it. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about. People need to know where they can get to. And And I think when you start sharing those stories, that it makes people hungry and they want to succeed. We have a team lead that has been with the company a really long time. And she came to me the other day and she said, Miss Q, I have never, ever wanted to be a salary member of management until now. That is my next goal. 20 years with the company.
What changed?
She said that she realizes that she can do the job. She was like, you give us so much credit. And let's just be honest, I give constructive criticism too. But I let them lead. And she's like, I could do this. I could be a coach. You most certainly could be. So now we got to get you there, right? Now that you put that bug in my ear, now we're going to get you there. I was telling Alexis that I don't rate my success off of my salary. I don't rate my success off of my bonuses. Those things are nice and I'm appreciative for them because that's how I'm able to take care of my family. That's not how I rate my success. I rate my success off of how many people can promote under me. Because if you're not promoting under me, then I don't feel like I'm doing my job. If everybody in my store has to stay with me, I want to release you. And then I want you to be successful. And I think that I was blessed to work for store managers that thought like that. So they didn't try to hold on to their talent. They let their talent produce and they let their talent go out and you still keep in contact with those people. So I really try to be like that. If you have talent, I want to see you do whatever it is in this company that you want to do. We got college for $1 a day. Like, we offer so many great things. I want to see you take advantage of whatever you want to take advantage of. I had a team lead get her very first home.
Wow.
She had been in foster care. And she was someone at first that I had to figure out how to relate to as a store manager. She was in produce, very quiet, very reserved. Brittany had hired her as an external. And I remember asking Brittany, you sure you made the right decision? But once you get to know people on a personal basis, you can learn how to manage them, right? We went outside one day and we're just talking, like, why don't you just tell me about yourself, Z? I don't know you very well. And now Z is my team lead overnight. And she's going to go places, but she got her very first apartment. She's never lived alone. Big deal for her. I mean, she was like super stoked. She was like, I did it. Like, I got my first apartment. And I think when you're a store manager and you're able to share in moments like that, people realize that you're human too.
That's right.
And when you're able to remember, there was a time when my first place was a huge deal to me. Or when you're able to see somebody struggling and you can honestly look them in their eye and say, you work for a company that's going to help you get to where you want to be. And these struggles one day are going to be your stepping stones to get you to the summit. And you can genuinely mean that because you've taken that walk. I think that it
makes you emotional.
I think it means a lot to them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, for you, as you were thinking about, probably didn't know exactly what this conversation was going to be like. But is there anything you wish we would have asked or something that you would like to say to folks that may be listening?
Honestly, you hear the cliche, like this life can be whatever it is that you make of it when you grow up. And I think sometimes as adults, we let that diminish. But the truth is at Walmart, this career can be whatever it is you make of it. And I think sometimes we don't say that enough to people. You can go anywhere you want to go in this company. We honestly work for a great company. The opportunities are here and they're endless. And I'm thankful for every market manager and store manager and leader that has ever told me that, because it is the absolute truth. We have endless opportunities here and take advantage of them.
That's awesome. Well, Q, you're clearly making a difference, not only in with your associates and in your store and your community, but obviously with your family too. And it is humbling just to have a chance to talk with you and enjoy Mardi Gras, even though it's not going to be exactly the way it was. Hopefully you and your store can enjoy it.
This is New Orleans.
Even in a COVID environment, I'm sure New Orleans will find a way to enjoy Mardi Gras.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Q. Oh my goodness. Gold. I am fired up.
That was gold.
Fired up. Yes. Wow. Honestly, I think I could just listen to her talk about every single person in her store.
Yes, that passion that she has.
Yes.
And when I was in the store, I noticed that about her. She's a passionate leader, and that passion filters through her store. I had a few takeaways. I don't know what you had, Alexis, but she said I had to take a step back.
Yes.
And for somebody like her, who's that powerhouse of a leader, that's probably hard to do, right? But she had to take a step back and let her team step forward. And then also this whole idea of inclusion and not underestimating the power to bring people together in meetings, whether that's small huddles or bigger meetings, and making sure that everybody has a voice.
Yep.
Was a real, I think, practical way of inclusive leadership. So that was another takeaway. And then, it's just amazing to me. This company has thousands and thousands of stories like that of leaders like Q that are doing amazing things. And her just overall story of where she started, where she got, and the fact that she's passing it forward is just is remarkable.
The one thing that I think sometimes we forget about is when you're leading, it's just as important to sit back and listen. And so I absolutely resonated with what you were saying as well. The whole taking a step back and just feeling the situation out as well. And also looking at your associates and your team as leaders. Because often, just like she said with her associate, she knew exactly what the problem was and how to solve it. And that's just incredible to have that much insight within yourself to realize, okay, I'm going to take a step back and let you kind of run the show a little bit. And I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening, hopefully this is inspiring to you to go out and make a difference with your teams and your associates. And I think Q was a great example of that. So hope everybody has a great week, and hope you get a chance to make a difference in somebody's life.
Absolutely.
Do you know a difference maker in your store? Let us know. We want to tell their story. Visit us on Workplace and join the group. Let's keep the conversation going. Visit the group Walmart US People or hashtag Team Walmart. Our people are the spark that keeps the customer number one. So make the difference today.